Again, what I didn't realize was that this was a continuation of what had been happening since my time in high school. Shortly after leaving the platoon, I was given the opportunity to attend the Army Sapper Leaders Course. This is essentially a ranger school for engineers. The course revolves around sleep and food deprivation, wilderness fighting and survival, and an engineer's best friend, explosives. Most don't want to attend these types of schools, and many who say they do only like the idea of it. Few thrive on the challenge, and I turned out to be one of those. Sapper School was easily one of the hardest things I've ever accomplished in my life, but also the most eye-opening and rewarding. It's a finishing school for leaders who have already had a strong leadership base. It took years to even get the opportunity to attend, let alone graduate. When you are rested and well-fed, you can step up and fake the funk. However, at this school, they take you to the point of complete fatigue and hallucination and then tell you it's time to take charge and lead. At this point, you need to have an ingrained moral compass, a true belief in being a leader, and the integrity to do the hard rights over the easy wrongs. At this point in my life, more than ever, did I look back at the experiences in my life that led up to this and drew upon my previous successes. I remembered hard football seasons when Cotter was winless, but we kept taking the field with pride. We kept taking hits and playing through injuries until we finally made the playoffs my junior and senior year. I thought about the many people along the way who said that this wasn't the right thing for me and let that passion fuel me. Before I knew it, I had risen through the group and was constantly being volunteered during missions because I was one of the few who could be relied on regardless of the conditions. Less than half of the 50 initial students graduated the course, and I was one of the few. It was something I'm proud of to this day because a person's worth is never determined by the medals on his or her chest. However, that Sapper tab is a representation that I have taken my leadership seriously and am willing to sacrifice for the good of the group. I have full faith that the catalyst for this selfless service obsession stems from the Cotter value system that was ingrained within my education at an early age. In June 2009, I was promoted and was at a crossroads in my career. I had been cooped up in an office too long and misleading troops and being on the ground. I had to sit down with my wife of 1 month and told her that I wanted to volunteer to go to Afghanistan on a small training team embedded with the Afghans. As many of you can imagine, this was not something she was excited about, but she knew there really wasn't a choice. My mentality has always been, if you're not in the fight, why are you in the Army? Unfortunately, I also have the fortunately, I also have the most supportive and loving wife a man could ask for. So she said, let's do this. So after 3 months of training and working with new team members I deployed to Afghanistan, new challenges presented themselves, and an eye-opening experience of the world's most unique melting pot made me realize how sheltered I had been up to this point. Afghanistan proved to be the epitome of cultural diversity, and the obstacles that come with it quickly became apparent. The first deployment matured me as a leader, fully realizing what it means to be responsible for the well-being of your team. This second deployment diversified my experiences and taught me how unintentionally narrow-minded we can be sometimes as Americans. Often the hard-working go, go, go mentality we bring to the table is not viewed as important in other cultures. Punctuality does not hold the same value as it does here. There's a term called inshallah. It means God willing, and it's a favorite line of the Afghans. When you ask an Afghan company commander to be there at 0900, they often reply with a big smile, inshallah, we'll be there at 0900. We always joke that you can judge how new an American was to country by what time they expected their Afghan counterpart to meet up with them in the morning. The new guy was always trying to swing 0700 and was usually standing tall, all alone. Needless to say, I jumped in fully and tried to take in this melting pot of culture in constantly. I was able to visit the famous Kandahar airport and Tarnak farms. I tried to maximize my time on the ground. While in Kandahar, I was fortunate enough to meet with Senior Chief Crozier and catch up briefly. Simply seeing him there and knowing that this was his third deployment made me proud. He's a shining example of the selfless service that Cotter teachers and mentors exemplify on a daily basis to their students and community. Our conversation picked right up as if we had just left each other's company a week prior. This being a true testament to the genuine relationships that the faculty develop with their students. After returning home, I was honored to receive an email from Megan asking me to speak at this dinner. I was flattered and humbled to learn that the faculty not only still talked about me, but recommended me for tonight's dinner. I truly can't describe what a feeling it is to know that even after all these years, I was in the thoughts of some of my earliest teachers and role models. A shining example of the care and personal investment each teacher and faculty member develops with their students. This speech was a tough one for me to write simply because I don't feel comfortable talking about my accomplishments. For me, they were simply results of a general work ethic and attitude that has been fostered within me from a young age. I tend to get shy and awkward if conversation is about me, but tonight I think it's important to bring these accomplishments to light. not to celebrate them, but to make it known that I couldn't have achieved any of these things without the strong foundation of the Winona Catholic school system. Every moment's a learning opportunity, but the development from childhood to high school graduation is the platform from which a person's maturity stems. In an often confusing time for children and teenagers, Cotter starts and ends its education with a sense of community and a concern for the greater good of both the community and its members. Cotter maintains a vested interest in seeing those within the community succeed and in letting every one of them know they matter. This may seem trivial to some, but it's something that's hard to find in most of the world, and it's something that most children will greatly appreciate as they grow. A reflection of that community is a model that Cotter promotes: honor the absent. High school can be a rough time for kids, and gossip is a natural behavior of many. But the fact that Cotter has openly addressed this issue shows its tenacity at creating a morally straight, responsible future leader within the world. The best leaders I've ever worked with were genuine ones who never wavered in the way they treated their people. If your performance was weak, they called you on it and helped you learn from your mistakes. If you screwed up, you took the punishment, and that was that. Grudges were never held, and those leaders most certainly didn't make your performance anyone else's business. Although gossip can seem primarily a high school issue, it's rampant throughout any age group or organization. It shows itself in different forms as we get older, and it prevents us from being genuine leaders, friends, and colleagues. Cotter has realized this and decided to put it in the foreground of their development process, ultimately creating a genuine and compassionate leader who can be relied upon for his or her integrity. This is something that's not always present in society, and something that should be praised and embraced. Finally, Cotter fosters an attitude of responsibility within its students. Again, this is something that's extremely rare in today's world. Growing up, it was an assumption for me that if you made a mistake, you accepted it as yours and you moved on. Today, it's near impossible to turn on the television or read a newspaper and not hear about how your government is failing you or how fast food chains are responsible for America's obesity problems. It's an everyday occurrence to hear someone you work with complain about how someone is out to get him or her. It's shocking how few people look inward before looking outside for solutions to their problems. This ability to look inward first is a skill that was ingrained in me from a young age within the Winona Catholic school system. It's allowed me to be a mature enough leader to approach problems by looking at my mentoring and direction as a leader before assuming failure on my subordinate's part. This is a pillar within the Cotter value system, and it fosters an environment that is ripe with proactive, solution-oriented leaders versus dependent, blameful followers. It's something I can't put a price tag on and hope to bestow upon my future children as well. In conclusion, I'd like to simply say this. When asked, why should I send my child to Cotter, my reply would be, because your investment in your child's future is invaluable. As an alumnus and a leader in today's world, I'm able to see the head start that Cotter graduates have as influential contributors to society. The textbook education that Cotter offers can be compared to other schools, and great opportunities can arise from either venue. However, the social and moral development constantly cultivated at Cotter cannot be found anywhere else. Instead of wondering why a child should attend Cotter, a parent's realization should be that this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity is a rare gift that they can provide for their child. And truly, there's no better foundation that their child could start from. Money will come and go, but there are short, ever-important years that, if taken advantage of, can create tomorrow's leaders. Thank you for your time. My hope is that this was entertaining and it also resonates with your beliefs and experiences within the Cotter system. I'm proud to be an alumnus of that system and an example of what those opportunities can provide. It's because of people like you and the contributions you make that Cotter is truly one of the most extraordinary schools in the world. Please, let's keep it going.
Bravo.